Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, whether it's live or listening to the recording. My name is Assael,
I'm Galit.
and together we run Own Your Shit, and we are here in Relational Aid, practical skills for couples. What we do in our day-to-day, we work with couples every day, and it's the last 3 months have been very difficult and challenging. It's been we're in wartime here, and we really decided to reach out and to lean on masters, therapists, thought leaders around the world to give us practical skills, because what we believe is the home front right now is the front, and our relationships are our biggest source of agency and strength,
And our resources for resilience.
and as part of that series, we are honored to welcome Dr. Betty Martin here. I will introduce her briefly, although most of the people probably already know who she is. Dr. Betty Martin started as a chiropractor. On retiring from that practice as a certified surrogate partner, sacred intimate, and somatic sex educator. Her explorations in somatic-based therapy and practices informed her creation of the framework, the Wheel of Consent. As part of her work, School of Consent, Betty travels around the world teaching practitioners how to create a powered agreement in their client sessions. And I want to say something personal. We highly recommend this book. And reading this book really changed a lot of things in our practice and obviously in our marriage. And I want to say not just in our sex life, this is not just about sex and touch. This is about power dynamics and mutuality and equity.
And really a roadmap to kind of healthy relationships, I think, a real way to kind of engage in a healthy, respectful way.
And as we're noticing in our own marriage, how the tense and the war or the trauma and the crisis has really impacted and affected our friendship and also our intimate relationship, no one is better than Betty Martin here to kind of give us tools, not just us, but everyone who's listening and going to be watching later. So, Betty, thank you so much for coming. We really
You are so welcome. Thanks for having me. I love that name, Own Your Shit. It's like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not always easy, is it?
No, it's not.
It's really not. Yeah. Yeah. Starts me pondering, what shit am I owning and what shit am I trying to avoid? That's for a different call.
That's a different talk. That's a different talk.
Oh,
Talk to us a little bit as you see, couples in distress and crisis and trauma. The first relationship to take a hit is the lovers, is the intimate relationship.
mhm.
Well, I want to say that I really think that this is a masterpiece. This kind of roadmap for engaging and interacting. It really is a masterpiece. It's a work of art. It's genius. And I think first, could you walk us through it? Could you kind of explain and maybe even kind of tell us how you came to it and kind of, the story even behind it as you walk us through it?
Sure. I go through this in the book, but in my own personal erotic exploring awakening journey, I took a bunch of workshops and met with some friends over time. And at one of those workshops, we played a game called the 3-minute game. And this was a workshop on using BDSM practices for self-awareness. And the 3-minute game is two people asking each other 2 questions. And this is clearly laid out in the book, so get the book. And the 2 questions are, what do you want to do to me for 3 minutes? Well, first time we played that, I thought, yeah, I can think of some fun things I want to do to you for 3 minutes. And then you make an agreement and do that for 3 minutes. And then and you take turns asking that question. The other question is, what do you want me to do to you for 3 minutes? Well, I can think of some fun things I might like to have you do to me for 3 minutes as well. So I just started playing that with a few willing friends and lots of clients because I was already doing sex coaching at that time. And I noticed right away that when there's 2 people, 2 questions, that gives you 4 rounds to play in. And each of those rounds, you're either doing or you're done to. And it's either what you want or it's what they want. It's either for you or it's for them. And they combine in these 4 ways that make quadrants. And that part was obvious pretty quickly. But what I noticed after playing this with lots of clients was that, wow, it really showed where you get stuck and where you get lost and where you get confused and where you get awkward and where you get turned on. And, it opens up so many doors. And I as I've thought about it over the years, I think it's because each of those dynamics, I'm doing what you want, or I'm doing what I want, or you're doing what you want, or you're doing what I want. Each of those 4 is central to human relating.
Yes.
Like in almost every instance, you're doing one of those things. And certainly when it comes to touch and affectionate engagement and sex, those things are very much alive. I'm either doing what you want or I'm doing what I want. Well, can I tell the difference? And what difference does it make? Then what was our agreement? And do we both think we're both doing what the other wants and neither of us is really doing what we want? So where are we going with that?
Right.
So it just, by taking turns asking those 2 questions, a whole world opens up. And so the wheel of consent is just a diagram of what happens when 2 people ask those 2 questions. That's all it is.
Let's do it.
And then when you draw it out, you realize, oh, this applies to a lot of things besides touching each other.
Yes.
Right.
It applies to how we act at work, how we act on the street. It applies to our nations and what we're doing as a nation, and economically. It applies to a lot of situations. But it was developed out of exercises using touch, although you can certainly play without touch. And you don't need to be partners or lovers to play. You can play with a practice buddy or a friend or a neighbor.
Right.
In fact, when you're learning it, I encourage you not to include sex or sexual touch, because when you start sexual touch, your habits are so strong that it's really hard to learn anything new.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to play with touch that's not sexual.
It's interesting when you say that about sexual touch, because I was thinking how I actually think that the 4 quadrants allow you to expand kind of it sounds like it's simple and it's kind of compact with, 2 variations on 2, but actually it really broadens the scope and it really expands.
Yeah.
I think what we're used to, or what we think about when we think about relationships and kind of even just those, that kind of 2 by 2 really, really expands the options, and as well as kind of checking in, well, is this really mine, and who am I doing this for? And I also think, because so often, at least in my experience, right, sex becomes kind of so narrow because we're so consigned to what we know and see and hear. We're so overwhelmed by kind of imagery that this, I feel like, allows a new exploration. Have this kind of orbit of just us.
Yeah, absolutely. When someone asks you, what do you want to do to me for 3 minutes? Well, you are likely to think, first of all, you think of all the things that, I think they'll like this, so I'll do that. But that's not the question.
Right.
The question is, what do you want to do to me? And you'll probably think of things that you have done before. And then you keep asking this question for a while, you're going to notice that, I never thought of this. Or, here's something I want to try that I never thought of before. I'll ask for this. And your repertoire expands.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe
what you found?
Yeah. I want to say, no, let's dive, let's explain the wheel.
Yeah.
A lot of our listeners and viewers don't know it. We do it. So do you want to pop on the...
Do you want to maybe to share this screen? Yeah.
Please do. Yeah. We'd love that.
Okay. So here's what the wheel of consent looks like drawn out in a diagram. Let me move this thing here. There we go. Oops, there. And this shows the you are doing or you are done to. You're doing or they're doing. Why is it showing up getting green on your screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now
It's like you're highlighting.
Anyway, and then it shows giving a gift, it's for them, or receiving a gift, it's for you. And it just shows how those things overlap. And most people are accustomed to thinking of if you're doing and it's for the other person, I'm calling it serve. Most people think of this as giving because you give a massage, you give some kind of touch. But there's another kind of giving also. So it needed its own name. So I call it serve. And when you are serving, your partner is in accepting. They are being done to, and it's for them. You've asked them, how do you want me to touch you? Let me back up a minute. The original game was, what do you want me to do to you, and what do you want to do to me? And I changed that in my work with clients because I wasn't playing so much with power dynamics. I was playing more with touch. So I changed it to, how do you want me to touch you? And how do you want to touch me? And today I think we'll change that a little bit too, because I imagine that in time of social conflict and warfare, you're gonna want something that's comforting. So I'm going to change those questions a little bit.
Yes.
Let me play it in a minute. But when you're in serving, your partner has said, will you scratch my neck? Will you hold me? Will you read me a story? Will you bring me a cup of tea? It's a will you question. Will you rub my back? And the serve says, yes, I will. So you have this dynamic, which is what most people think of as the normal or right way to touch. Most people think, well, if I'm touching, it's supposed to be for the person that I'm touching. So that's this dynamic. But when you ask the questions, you find out there's another dynamic in which it's, may I? May I play with your hair? May I hold you? May I kiss your ears? May I feel up your butt? So, and then the allow person says, yes, you may. So now you have the action is going from the taker to the allower. I'm playing with your hair. But the gift is going the other way. I'm giving you the gift of letting you play with my hair, or letting you feel my legs, or letting you kiss my ears, whatever it is. So this is a different dynamic. The take allow is a different dynamic. Another way to see it would be there's two ways to give a gift. I can give the gift of my action, which is serve, or I can give the gift of access to my body, which is a significant gift and a real gift, and that's allow. Likewise, I can receive a gift in two different ways. I can receive the gift of being allowed to do to you what I want, or I can receive the gift of you doing to me what I want. Either way, it's what I want, it's for me. So you can download this for free on the website. I think you'll have a link there.
Yes.
And this can be a little bit overwhelming. So if it is, just forget it. We're going to come back and play with it in a minute.
But I do want to just say that I think for the first time, I actually realized that one of the things that I value most about the Wheel of Consent is that in each quadrant, each person remains a subject. Nobody
Absolutely.
ever at any point becomes an object.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. In each quadrant, you are tending to if you're receiving, you're tending to what you want. If you're giving, you're tending to what you're okay with.
Right.
What you honestly can give with a full heart. There's no enduring, going along and tolerating and, well, I guess I should like this. Throw all that out.
Right.
Yeah. So So if this is a little overwhelming, I'd say just forget it, and we're going to play with it, and we'll see what we find. And you can download it later if you want. Yeah. And I think there is a copy of it in Hebrew.
Yes, we will put all links in the YouTube and also in the podcast. Yeah. I wanted to ask you one general question from your experience. Do you notice any differences in gender between men and women? Which quadrants are people defaulted to more? Thank you so much. I'm married to a PhD in gender studies, so.
As a matter of fact, yes, I do. And I think it's because of the way we have been conditioned because of our gender growing up. I noticed that for the taking quadrant, where you're touching the other person for your own desire, many people will think that's what men are always doing. But in actuality, it's often very difficult for them to actually do that. And I think, I'm not sure, I think it's because very often and it may be different in your country, but in my country, men are taught pretty much not to feel their body at all, except for their genitals. Like, just, it doesn't exist.
Yes.
And so being able to take in sensory pleasure with your hands, which you're doing if you're feeling somebody up, can be difficult. And it can bring up a lot of questions of self-doubt and shame. I don't want to be that guy. Or fear of being that guy, or fear of being the perpetrator.
Yes.
So the taking quadrant is difficult for everybody, and especially men, cis men, that I've noticed. And I don't think it's inherently any more difficult. I think it's just the way we're raised based on our gender. Yeah.
And with your work with women, which quadrant is the most challenging?
I'd say very often for women, the done to half of the wheel is challenging because most women already have the experience of being touched in ways that they don't like. Every woman knows how to be touched in ways that they don't like. And so women will very often, not always, but very often grow up with this feeling that any touch that's happening, especially if it's affectionate or sexual touch, is by definition for the guy.
Wow.
And so I just have to make myself kind of go along with it, or make myself try to like it, or ask myself, why don't I like this? What's wrong with me? And many, many women will be confused about, wait a minute, I asked for a back rub, but it's not what I really wanted. It's what I think he's going to want to do. Is this sounding right, Galit? Yeah.
I mean, I've liked that I've matured from there, but yeah.
Yeah. And it's very common for cis women. Yeah. So very often what the biggest learning for cis women is that it is, in fact, possible to be touched in exactly the way you want. And for many women, they just never have had that experience. And when they learn how to have that experience, it's a big aha and a big relief. Yeah. And it's often challenging. Yeah. So again, I think it's nothing inherent in being human. Every human needs access to all four quadrants, regardless of what genitals you have or what gender you are. You need all four quadrants. But because of the way we were raised based on our gender, I think that's where those differences come in. Yeah.
You know, as you were walking, I mean, I have a lot of memories driving in the car, listening to your long YouTubes. You have a YouTube on every one of the quadrants.
Yeah.
I've been driving you for hours in my car thinking about this. And I was wondering, since the war started, I'm much more in survival mode, both of us. I'll speak for myself. Much more dissociated, much more disconnected. And it's hard for me to really open up.
Yeah.
I feel like I need much more touch, but not necessarily sex. And I feel like it's been difficult because also Galit's going through her stuff, and also
sometimes we're not in the same we have different paces, right? Like I might be kind of in a space where I'm actually able to open up a little bit more, but just Assael is kind of more cocooning, and then we might reverse. Like there's, depending on kind of what we've seen or what we've heard or what space. It's a real emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. And I'd say to really enjoy sex or even just sexual affection, you need some sense of safety.
Right.
And I would guess that's in short supply right now.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, I'm sure a lot of couples that are listening to us as well, like, so what do we do? What would you recommend for couples surrounded by images of violence, also sexual violence, aggression, war, fear, trauma, and
uncertainty,
but still wanting to connect and still wanting to bridge and to feel? It's almost like feeling pleasure is a little bit guilty now, because how can you feel pleasure when there's so much pain? So there's also that guilt that's kind of, I'll speak for myself, like how can I have pleasure, and it's kind of helping me a little bit.
Yeah. That's a great question. I think it probably would be helpful to separate touch and comfort from sex. Because they're not the same. For many people, the touch is a human need that you never outgrow, and can be met in many different ways. Sex is not, the engagement in sexual activity is not a human need. You can live your whole life without it. But being able to express who you are as a sexual being, that's what the actual need is. To be able to express who you are, which is going to be different from how somebody else is. That's the human need. And so, but we have these, in my country at least, we have these conflated so that the only way that it's okay to get any touch is to have sex. Well, that's a problem. Because what if you really need just to be held and comforted, and you don't know how to ask for that, or you think, well, it's got to lead to sex, then you're kind of stranded. And you're right. Touch is a really, really fundamental human need, especially touch for comfort and reassurance. And I imagine it would be really helpful for people to learn to exchange holding and touch in that context without assuming that it needs to lead to sex.
I love
two different needs. Yeah.
I love the notion of touch for comfort, because I was actually, today I was really kind of down and low, and I kind of imagined, curling up into a ball and just being held, just being like coddled. And it's hard. And I think that also as adults, there aren't a lot of spaces where we can be held in that way.
Yeah. I think, as we're talking, I'm thinking, I think the practice of the 3-minute game is really great here, because it lets you separate out who it's for. The wheel is a practice in taking apart, receiving, and giving. Who is it for? So that if you, Galit, want to be held, you don't have to wait for Assael to be also in the mood. You can ask for it as a gift, and then he can say, yeah, I can do that, or no, I can't do that, or I can do that for 5 minutes, or whatever agreement you want to make. But that it doesn't require the giver to be totally into it. It just has to be something that you're willing to give your partner.
Yeah.
And that's a different dynamic. Yeah. Let's play.
Outside.
So normally, as I said, I ask the questions, how do you want to touch me, and how do you want me to touch you, for 3 minutes? And we could do that, or we could go with the, what do you want me to do to you? But I think what might be interesting to play with here, since we're sort of focusing on the comfort and support, would be maybe how do you want me to support you for the next 3 minutes? Which might be touch, it might be listening, it might be getting you a cup of tea, it could be just about anything. And the person who's asking the question is making an offer. They're offering to serve you in this way for 3 minutes. You want to try that?
Let's do it. Are you holding the times? Can I get
Yes, I will hold the time.
All right, so because I want to let go.
Yeah.
And if you want to do less than 3 minutes,
you can do less than 3 minutes.
Let's do 2 minutes. But it's going to take a little bit of time to come to your agreement.
Okay, so I'm going to ask. So I just want to practice this in the wheel of consent. So I'm asking, how can I support you? And that's me serving, and she's accepting.
Yeah. And it's not how can I support you? It's how would you like me to support you?
Okay.
Can you hear the difference? It's like how can I support you? Sounds like it's something that I want to do. At least as a native U.S. speaker, it sounds that way to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Galit, how would you like me to support you for the next 2 minutes?
Okay.
And then Galit, your opportunity is to check in with yourself and take all the time you need. This is where a lot of people rush through it and they think, well, gosh, I have to come up with something. But waiting until it bubbles up is really important. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd have this kind of, I feel like my neck is really stiff and heavy. Like I feel like it's a lot of effort for me to hold my head upright. And what I really love is to be able to kind of like put my neck, for you to cradle my neck and kind of go like that I can kind of feel the weight of my neck and my head, but not have to support it, and also have that kind of soft touch. Is that something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just ask, will you do that, or is that something you can do? Yeah.
That's something you can do.
1 second, I'm checking. Yeah.
And I had to admit that there's a part of me that's just kind of come up now, this like fear that he won't do it right. He won't do it the way that I want, or
I'll take it in some direction.
It won't be as I imagine, or fuck it up, or it won't.
It's entirely possible. Yes, he might totally fuck it up.
Yeah, I totally fuck it up. I'm just naming it.
Okay.
So I'm checking it, and it's within my boundaries, and I'm happy to do it.
But now I really want it. Now I really, and I want it the way I want it.
Yeah.
I'll try my best, Galit.
Okay.
So do you understand behind you?
Well, no, wait, Betty. Now I have a question. So now if he starts doing it, I can correct, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, you can say lower, lighter, whatever. Yeah. Or you might just get tired of it, decide that's enough.
Okay. Yeah. So I really like the kind of lean. Okay. I mean, you can also kind of.
Well, this is good for me. This is good for you.
Yeah, this is really good for me.
So for me, I'm inserting mode. Yeah.
Yes.
Focusing on just giving my wife comfort.
Yeah. You're focusing on doing the thing that she asked you to do.
You think you could like extend just make it a little longer?
And it helps, Assael, if you check in, how's this weight, how's this pressure, how's the speed, or is there anything that you'd like me to change? So that it just makes more room for her to make any changes that she wants.
Everything I hoped for. Yeah, it's good. I would like you to, can you slow down a little bit? And can you kind of like, like each side kind of turn a little bit? Do you know what I mean? Like, turn my head a little bit every time.
And Galit is really doing a great job of modeling she changed her mind a little bit. She wanted to add something. She wanted to change something. And all you got to do is ask because it's for you. Yeah.
Okay, now can you like make sure my neck is straight and like pull up a little bit?
Both?
Yeah, but like
Oh, keep going.
like that. No, but and then pull up. And now can I go like this? And you'll kind of rub my back like that. No, like
this?
Yeah. Well, like go like this with your hand. Just fall away.
Yeah.
Okay, I hate to say it, but that's it.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
Betty, I have
Even better than I had hoped for.
Oh, good.
Betty, I have to share something that came up for me in the exercise, but also happens in our real life. Now that this is the second Galit asks for something that she wants, I get very tired.
He doesn't want to do it.
And I don't want to do. Like if I start touching her for I'm in taking the section. Can you rub my back? I'm exhausted. It's time for bed.
It's even more than that. It's like, oh, that feels really good. Can you keep doing it? And he's like, no, okay.
So I'm wondering. I mean, I'm sure I'm the first man to say this to you. Why would that shift the second it's giving and not taking? For me, it's like I'm exhausted.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's only men who say that. Yeah, I don't know, but sure, because we have different relationships to the experience of giving, not all of which have been great. So it could be that as kids or young people, we were put in a position to give something or provide something that we didn't really want to. And so it just like, oh, giving, shit, I have to do this again. I can relate to that.
That's really interesting because I'm reflecting as I was a pleaser as a child.
Yeah.
Please unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking as you were talking, the two things, the biggest challenges for me I'm going to speak more about because I work a lot with men. First is to dare to even ask for what I want.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is the day one because I did not do that as a child. I was hinting, but I never said I want this.
Yeah.
And the second one is to receive a no.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah. Her, I remember when I ask Galit sometimes to hug me or let's have sex, and she says no, it really hurts my ego because like it's so hard for me to ask.
Dude.
Yeah. It's like you know how hard it is for a pleaser to ask? Super hard,
Yeah. And that's really common in everyone. I don't know anyone who has complete ease in asking. And it may be easy to ask for help, but hard to ask for pleasure. Or it may be easy to ask for pleasure, but hard to ask for help. Or there's going to be some things that are easier to ask for than other things. Of course, that's totally normal.
And also when you said that, I'm realizing I have a core belief about pleasure, that pleasure is being spoiled. Pleasure, you don't deserve
it. It's your turn to, Galit, it's your turn to ask.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see. Okay, so the question is, how can I support you, right?
How would you like me to support you?
How would you like me? How would you like me to support you?
For 2 minutes.
For 2 minutes. He's like, I'll get the oils out.
Okay, so Betty, I'm getting flooded because I want a lot of touch because I feel like my love language is touch, and I feel like it's been lacking.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit flooded here, Betty. So can you help guide me?
Tell me what I want.
Yeah. So just take a breath and slow down and know that you have all the time in the world. And something will bubble up. Yeah.
I'm sensing like I would like elbows on my shoulders here, like rolling it like that. Wait, let me just, I don't know, I just had that K.
Yeah, just, yeah, talk it out for a minute. And Galit, you don't get started until he says, will you do that? And you say yes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So just, because it may take him a while to really figure out what he wants, and that's totally fine.
So my like, I'm usually a top down kind of guy, but bottom up, I felt like I want shoulders. I mean, I want her elbows on my shoulders, pushing down and rubbing like this. And maybe then later add the hands and stretch the head, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to start with my first impulse, which is, will you put your elbows on my shoulders, and then start lifting my head up.
And Galit, check in with yourself. Is this something that I'm willing and able to do? And it might help to close your eyes. I don't know. You could try it if you want, so that you're not looking to him for response or anything else. Just checking in with yourself.
I will say that it's funny how I immediately got up to do it. And I didn't even check with myself. It didn't even occur to me to take that minute and see.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
I think because I felt indebted to you. Yeah.
That's about
because I had just gone. So now obviously it's to serve you.
Yeah. So it might be, just a second, might be a yes, might be a no. It might be a yes, but with this, it might be I can do it from this side, but not this side. Or it might be, I don't know, but I'm willing to try it. Whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be a yes or a no.
Right. I am happy to try, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it for the full time that you would like me to do it.
Okay, so wait, what's coming up for me now? It's like, I tried so hard to ask, and it's like, there's a little bit, the little child in me is like, but I asked so nicely.
I asked so nicely.
Well, I just wanted, please, sir, I have 2 minutes of a shoulder rub.
Yeah, this is where we get to notice I'm responsible for what I want, but you're responsible for knowing if you can give it. Yeah. And so we have to really respect the other person's limits of what they're willing to give. And it's going to bring stuff up as you...
That's coming up. It's like
I see.
Sadness. The sadness is coming up. Yeah. I feel like this is so primal, like to request something so vulnerably. Well, boy, I said before about taking a chance, and then the reality of that, she might not be able to give that. It's hard.
And also noticing that she said yes. Yeah.
Nope.
Can you bend down a little bit? Or you were gotcha. And if you bend down a little bit, I can put more of my weight on. Is it like that?
No, like slide it like here. Give me your hands up this.
Like this.
Oh.
But like circular?
I wonder if it would work better if you were on a shorter stool, Assael.
I'm on the shorter stool.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna do it like this, just like windshield wipers.
Windshield wiper?
Like just rubbing.
Oh, I see. Like this? Like that?
I was thinking about the long, not the ball, like that.
Like that?
Yeah.
Great example of negotiating and getting it just the way you want.
You're getting tired, Galit? So now I'm worried about her.
Muscular, though. It's
Betty, now I'm worried about her. I'm feeling guilt now that I'm burdening.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I do it at a slower pace?
So, Assael, you might want to check in. Are you sure this is okay with you?
Can I
get the information? or it might be that she's limited in how she can do that because she's short. So now she's making a counter offer.
Is this all right?
Yes. And what's interesting for me, Betty, it's coming up is like the guilt of asking as a pleaser again. I'm feeling a lot of childlike emotions here.
Yeah.
I don't want to burden my parents by doing things for me. I don't want to burden Galit
Right. Yeah.
for my pleasure.
Yeah. Heaven forbid.
Can I put one elbow in here and push?
Yeah, you can do that. The hands.
So notice, Galit, that you're asking what you can do.
Right.
This is about him. That's our time, but I want to do this. It's not what you can do, it's what he wants you to do. That's a big difference. Yeah. So what you have said is basically, I can't do this way.
Right.
Would this way work as well for you?
Right.
Yeah. And then you might ask for it, is there some other thing that would work? Or you're trying to negotiate what's going to meet his need with that you can actually physically do.
Right.
Yeah.
What's going to meet your need that I can physically do?
What you're doing right now is really good.
Okay. Let's go for another half a minute then.
But it's interesting. I'm feeling a mixture of guilt as well. Like this is wrong, or
yeah. Yeah, that's so often going to come up in this quadrant, especially where someone's doing something that you want. Shit, it's going to bring up everything. Of course it is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's about time.
I think it's really interesting because I feel like for me, and this is something that I think we've kind of noticed in our relationship and have talked about, but it really clearly comes up in the 3-minute game, is that I don't feel like I have guilt or shame or a hard time kind of directing and kind of saying like, oh, I wanted it this way. Can you have it more that way? And you oftentimes get really like,
yeah, we all have
almost like shut down.
Yeah.
Like this whole exercise is exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not uncommon because we all have different feelings about receiving the gifts of love from others. Of course we do. And different kinds of gifts are going to touch us in different ways. And all our stuff's going to come up, which is why it's only for 3 minutes. Because oftentimes you can accept a loving gift for 3 minutes that might just throw you over the edge if it was an hour.
Yeah. I think what's coming up for me now is really, it was so vulnerable to ask for what I want and to have someone serve me. And I just, I'm so busy trying to survive and hustle.
And I think we forgot to do this last time, but you look her in the eyes and say thank you. And you say, Galit, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
And we forgot to do it the other way before.
So can I thank you?
Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. What?
And it seems like it was clear, especially for you, Assael, that this was for you, and that's part of what brought up all the feelings. Yeah,
I think even when you say that I got something's really raw there.
Yeah.
The combination of also touch and also being the focus of really accepting it. It's really not easy for me.
Yeah. Well, then there's a second question, which we can do. It's going to either mean we have to go over, which I'm okay with, or shorten the questions or whatever. So
We can go over it too. I mean, I blocked
Okay.
a little bit longer for it.
Okay. Okay.
And by the way, whoever's watching now on Zoom can also ask questions and we'll relate to it when we're done with the game. So please feel free to.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now you're going to ask, what would you like to do to me? Or maybe with me, or let's say you. What do you want to do to me?
See, this one's very easy for me to do.
We'll see.
Oh, so
What's the difference for me? I don't even understand the question. Like not even computing.
Yeah.
That's what drives me on.
Yeah.
What would you like to do to me? Next year,
I'm like nothing. Nothing.
So it may be nothing. It may be nothing. Or have a look at him and see if there's some, see if there's some texture that your hands might enjoy. Maybe his head, his hair, or his whiskers, or his shoulders, because I've seen you touch him spontaneously already. Is there some part of him that you want to feel up?
Yeah. I would like to touch your eyebrow. I would like to touch your facial hair.
And so say, may I?
May I please touch your facial hair?
1 second, let me check. Yes, you may.
And let's see if we can get you more comfortable. Yeah. If we were doing this longer, I'd say put his head in your lap, but I don't think we'd have time for that. Because I don't want you working hard. I want you just using your hands to feel what's the texture of this thing here. And you might want to experiment with using just one hand, Galit.
This is so much easier for me.
Sure.
I don't feel guilty at all here. I just enjoy it. It's easier for me to enjoy this than the previous room.
Yeah. And Galit, also experiment with slowing your hand down so that you are just feeling the texture. I'm sure it's quite amazing. And notice that there's a gift happening here, but it's not you to him, it's him to you. And is there some kind of comfort or enjoyment, or
it's almost a sense of wonderment, like when we're children and we're exploring.
Okay. Yeah. And he might enjoy it, but who cares? This is for you. Okay, that's about 2 minutes. And then notice who says thank you and who says you're welcome. And
I want to engage. That was great. I want my whole life to be this sparkles. I want this to be my...
I want to say that it was so interesting to me that I immediately thought like, oh, I don't want anything. I don't want anything.
Sure.
For me,
Thanks so much, I guess.
oh, well, hush up. Let her tell.
I think for me, it's more of I don't want to be in debt. I don't want to feel like I'm in debt. And so I can be self-sufficient. I don't need anything.
Yeah. My first guess was that it might be because you feel like when you're doing something, it's always for him anyway. I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounded like that was your first impulse, that you don't want to be in debt.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And how often do we avoid, taking something that we want because it's very understandable. Yeah.
You're asking me now.
Yeah. Now you ask him, what do you want to do to me?
Oh, right. what do you want to do to me
For 2 minutes.
for 2 minutes?
I would like to stretch your shoulders back. I want to kind of play with your posture back. That's what I would like to play with your shoulder blades.
I would like that.
And then you say, may I do that?
May I do that?
You may. And I will tell you if you're pulling too much.
Okay. I agree.
He always looks disappointed when I say my kind of.
Yeah. Well, it's totally natural. We might feel a little disappointed because we just want what we want. I mean, we're, mammals.
Yeah.
We're animals. All right. So it really helped me that you said to slow down.
And Assael, your focus is on what your hands feel. What's the texture? What's the shape? Or what's the sort of tissue resistance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I put my here and then pull back on the sides?
Your knee?
Yeah, my knee here.
Yeah.
I'm just following my body, Betty. I don't know why I want to do it.
Yeah. How is this? What kind of pleasure is here for you, Assael?
I guess I'm just enjoying, this might sound weird, but just the tension, the tension of I don't have words for that.
Okay.
The tension and the release, I guess. Seeing how the ligaments, I have this might sound freaky or weird or illegal or something, but I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's just, I can't explain it, why I want to do this.
Yeah.
I think there's also part of me that's like mirror neurons, like I want that. And it's like, I guess I'm also enjoying seeing it in someone else.
Yeah. That's our time. That may be a clue for you of something to ask for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Play the 3-minute game more often. We need to incorporate this in our repertoire
Yeah.
far more often.
Yeah.
I think what I want to share here, and people feel free to ask questions in the chat. I think for me, what came up for me is just vulnerability. This is the kind of way to reconnect. We're noticing also in our marriage, also in the clinic, like when you're in survival mode, the last thing you're going to be is vulnerable and intimate.
Yeah.
I think this game kind of gives us a framework, a playground to explore all the different shades of vulnerability and intimacy.
I think even more than that, what came up for me was that there's something very primal and very kind of like initial, like all of a sudden I kind of remembered what it was like to be a little child, kind of when you just you just stroke your parent's face, or even remembering my kids doing it to me, and kind of like what it's like when you're just even pre-verbally, you just take it all into your body.
Yes.
And there's so much. It's like it's like you're willing to go back to that, to access that very pre-verbal connection.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well said.
And it's amazing because all of a sudden it was like I felt wonder.
Yeah.
Right? And like, when's the last time that I felt wonder about touching your beard? Like, I don't. It's not something that I feel wonder about so much.
Yeah.
So it's really incredible how like our bodies can be this exceptional portal into ourselves and into this like very primal initial.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said. So true. And slowing down and creating a little context here is what made it possible. because it's always there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm also, as we're starting to slowly wrap up the talk today, I was thinking about, to choose to be vulnerable, to choose to feel is an act of rebellion against the war, against the fords that are pushing us closed. And I was thinking that for me, what I'm taking from this as well is like, couples need right now to keep the channels open.
Yes.
Because the war will end one day and couples need to reconnect and redirect. And if we don't practice this for 2, 3, 4 months, it's going to be very hard, vulnerable again. And I think what I'm taking from this exercise is to really, in 8 minutes, I managed to go through all the coordinates and notice which one's hard for me today. Today, accepting was really hard for me, but actually taking and also serving was much, much easier for me. And perhaps that's somewhere where I can go deeper and explore. Okay, for me, I guess it's accepting right now. Which one was the hardest for you for all?
The taking, the may I.
What do I do to me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't want to take because I don't want to be in debt.
Yeah, but you found it you found it.
Yeah, and it was the most gratifying.
Yeah.
It was the most gratifying of all and the most wonderful of all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I really, I mean, it's a practice, right? And if we don't and by practicing it, and I think what's so amazing is that because it's so much in the body and connects to these kind of primal emotions and feelings, as well as our own kind of narrative and our own baggage, then the more that we practice, the more it has the capacity to kind of become in our muscle memory and kind of become intuitive and just a part of the way that we engage.
Yes.
And I think now more than ever, it's so needed. It's like all of a sudden I'm looking at it like, wow, this is oxygen. Like we must put the mask on our self.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say something and then we'll hand it over to you for some closing thoughts, Betty. I think as I'm reflecting, it's bringing up very primal things, and I was noticing my most difficult quadrant was giving, and I think I connected to what you said about childhood.
Your most difficult quadrant was accepting.
But when I get tired on serving.
Yeah. Right.
I thought about like as a child, as a pleaser, you're giving what you don't want to give.
Yes.
Respect and obviously not because you want to. So when somebody asks me, I'm like, okay, here's to serve. And I'm just noticing this as a very good vehicle for couples to go deep and to find out,
and also,
discover, core beliefs.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because you've taken the complexity out of the picture. Yeah. So it's just this really simple thing. Will you do this to me? It's really simple. And so all the feelings, all the assumptions can come up, all the dynamics that you weren't seeing so clearly come up. Yeah. You guys were a great demo. You just went right into it and was like, here it is. Great.
Thank you.
We're going to be your buddy, your test bunnies, whatever.
Yeah, we're the guinea pigs.
We're the guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs.
I want to hand it over to you because I think one of the things this war changed my whole life and suddenly I found myself asking you, Betty Mart, who I've never met in my life, will you? So I think, I was asking to accept you and I wanted to share part of the process with you is we had a Zoom and there was a negotiation, there was a conversation there. You also kind of checked yourself and checked your boundaries and your consent. And I want to really thank you for modeling your model, living it, even at the level, embodying it completely. And it is an honor. So Betty, thoughts, closing words. A lot of couples are going to be listening to this. I'll be obviously therapists, but couples that are right now in the home front, but actually they're the future of the society.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share?
I want to say you're very welcome. and I also am inspired by watching you and having this interaction, and I'm very glad I'm here. Yeah. Yeah. Shit, you're in a very difficult situation, to say the least. Yeah, it's just yeah. And of course, things are going to be difficult in this kind of stress and tension and fear. Of course they are. And and what I have to offer is just this kind of one little window or one little gift of a practice, which is to take turns. That's really it. Take turns so that you can dip your toe into this vulnerability of asking for what you want. And you can also experience being given something that nourishes your heart. Because, God, we all need that, especially in times like these. So, you get to have a little sip of what will feed your heart. And it may make it possible to ask for bigger sips, or maybe a little sip is enough for right now, and more of a sip is enough for later. But you get to start the practice in with little steps and little sips, and then you can ask for more. Then you'll ask for, will you do this for 10 minutes or 12 minutes, or maybe it's the 20-minute game, Yeah.
Galit,
Yeah.
you want to say something?
Thank you so much. Really, I feel like it's a sip of gold. I don't know. It just talk about kind of comfort, and I feel nurtured. So thank you so much for your generosity and your gift to the world, really, of this roadmap of how we can give and receive generously.
Yeah.
I want to say a quote I take from your book, and I've said in the clinic many times, is, when I see your selfishness, then I can believe, or I can trust your generosity. And something for reminding couples, both partners, also myself right now, the selfishness, not in a bad way, but to feel to feel mindful.
Yes.
Just important in serving. One without the other is going to be skewed.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And if people want to learn more, read more, work with you, I'm going to put all the links, but if you want to give a little moment of how do people read more from you? How do they learn more with you, from you, with you?
You just go to the links, my website, the book. Yeah. We do teach classes and things online, and you can get more. Yeah.
So we're going to put all those links in the recording. We want to thank you so much. I want to wish everyone to Wheel of Consent, practice this, and may this really bring healing on the family, society, and also between nations. Thank you so much for your gift, Betty.
Really you're so welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Good night. We'll see you in the next talk.
Good night.